translation of verse 3. First the Sanskrit. You all have books now?
Yeah.
So you can repeat after me. We'll follow in the footsteps of Kanaya Lal Prabhu and Srila Prabhupada. Utsaha nischaya dharyat, Utsaha nischaya dharyat, Tat tat karma pravartanat.
Tat karma pravartanat.
Page 38. Sangatyagat sato vrite,
Sangatyagat sato vrite,
Sadbir bhakti prashidati.
Sadbir bhakti prasidati.
Anybody else want to lead in the singing? No? Anybody else want to lead in the singing? Leading us line by line?
Utsaha nischaya dharyat,
Utsaha nischaya dharyat,
tat karma pravartanat,
Tat karma pravartanat,
Sangatyagat sato vrite,
Sangatyagat sato vrite,
Shadbir bhakti prasidyati.
Sadbir bhakti prasidati.
Anyone else?
Utsaha nischaya dhrayat,
Utsaha nischaya dharyat,
tat karma pravattanat,
Tat karma pravartanat,
sangatyagat sato vidhi,
Sangatyagat sato vrite,
sadbir bhakti prasidyati.
Sadbir bhakti prasidati.
One thing is that, do you all know Sanskrit pronunciations according to the diacritic markings? Yes? Okay, so just a suggestion. I don't see it in Gurudev's books so much, but at the end of some of Srila Prabhupada's books, there are pronunciation guides. And it's nice to be able to pronounce it as it is, because different pronunciations actually have different meanings. Like there's a word mala, M-A-L-A, mala, which means dirt or dirty. And there's a word mala, which means garland. So the pronunciation makes a big difference. So for example, the A's are long. Utsahan nischayat haryat. Like that. So now this next thing that's happening is called an anvaya. Anvaya. Not anvaya, but anvaya. Anvaya. All closed A's. And what might help us in the pronunciation is if we exaggerate each one, how each thing is pronounced, like anvaya. In Sanskrit or in Hindi, everything is exact. I don't know how it is in German, but in English it's ridiculous. Like the same spelling words are pronounced differently. Like Though is though, and Tough is tough. So, right? So there's no rhyme or reason to it. But Sanskrit, Hindi, with the diacritic marking is very, very exact. So like, if you go to Taryat, the last word of the third line, everything is exact. DH is dha. A is very closed, and then the I without the line over it is it, so it's dai, dai, dai. And then yat, open, way open, yat, dai, yat. Everything is very exact, so you won't have any trouble in learning. So the next thing is called the Anvaya. And that is, Srila Gurudev was explaining it. He took the time in his preface to this book to explain elaborately what the Anvaya is. Generally, in the word-for-word synonyms, it's done that first Utsahan is explained, is defined, translated, then Nischayat, then Dharyat, then Tat Karma. In the Anvaya, some of the order might be the same as it is in the Sanskrit, but not necessarily. It depends on how it is in the translation. The normal sequence of words, as it is in the translation, is what the Anvaya does. Whereas what we think is easier for us is that the first word that's in the English or German sentence structure, that becomes the first word. Am I making sense? Not? Some of you look bewildered. Huh? What?
Can you repeat the last?
Let's go to verse number. No, some of them fit. Some of them, by coincidence, some of them fit. Let's see. I'm trying to find a verse that doesn't fit. That is, the first word of the verse is utsahan, which means enthusiasm. It so happens coincidentally that enthusiasm is also the first word of the translation, right? But if enthusiasm wasn't the first word of the translation, then it wouldn't be the first word of the Anvaya. Does that make sense yet?
Yeah.
It so happens that it corresponds. But the preference is given to the translation order, not the Sanskrit verse order. And Gurudev explained that by doing it that way, the verse meaning becomes self-evident, and it's also easier to learn that way. So we, many of Gurudev's followers, we wanted to do it a different way. We wanted to do it by the first word is the first word, the second word is the second word. Let's go to verse 5 and you'll see what I mean, because here it's very obvious. In the other previous verses it wasn't obvious. Okay, let's go to the Anvaya. Look at the translation. Krishneti Yashagiri Tvam. But if you look at the Anvaya, the word-for-word meanings, the first one is Adriyeta, not Krishneti. And to find Adriyeta takes a little bit of a job.
Yeah.
Now this is very clear what I mean. And the second one is Manasa, and you have to spend some time looking for the word Manasa. Especially since it's connected with Adriyeta, and it comes before Adriyeta in the verse, and after Adriyeta in the Anvaya. So Gurudev is explaining that if we could get used to this way, then the meaning of the verse becomes self-evident, and it becomes very easy to learn the verse. By our intelligence, we think the opposite way, but Gurudev he says, I'm stressing on this point that try to learn it this way, and therefore I've called it unvoice, just so that you get the idea that I'm stressing on the point that this is a better way. So if you're wondering why it's like that, Gurudev's giving it special importance. Alright, so let's go to the translation then. Progress in bhakti may be obtained by the following 6 practices. Enthusiasm to carry out the rules which enhance bhakti. Firm faith in the statements of the Shastra and the Guru whose words are fully in line with the Shastra. 3. Fortitude or determination or will to keep going in the practice of bhakti, even in the midst of obstacles, or patience during the practice stage of bhakti, even when there's a delay in attaining one's goal. 4. Following the limbs of bhakti, such as hearing and chanting, and simultaneously giving up one's material enjoyment for the pleasure of Krishna. 5. Giving up illicit connection with women, the association of those who are overly attached to women, and the association of Mayavadis. So before we go on, in case there's a little trepidation in the audience, I'm going to explain that real quick. Srila Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada both have said that when the word women or woman is used, it's interchangeable. That is, for man, woman is woman, and for woman, man is woman. The Sanskrit word is stri, which can be translated into woman, but it literally means the object of sense gratification, sense enjoyment. So for woman, man is the object of sense enjoyment. So the ladies should not think that there's any discrimination here, and that this verse is for men to give up women's association, because women are so contaminating.